Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me again. I'm just making another video because I'm in one of those moods where I'm able to. And I'm just going to talk about a lot of different things, you know, details that I may have forgotten or things I haven't said yet. But I also am going to talk about how I got out of this place, which is a very important part of the story, which I have not mentioned up till now. Because nobody really gets out of this place ever. So I'll I don't know what people want. If they want me to start with that or start with something else, I'll start with the other stuff I was going to talk about, and then I'll get into how I escaped. If you want to just hear that part, you can skip forward or do whatever you want. It's a free country, or so we're told. So, uh, one of the things that I want to say, just in relation to how this affected my development, because everybody is born, goes to school, they have a path that they go on over the course of their life, experiences that change them, affect them, turn them into an adult, a person who's has beliefs or has opinions about things, has a disposition, right? So before I went to this place, it's a pretty big irony, but I was actually in a pipeline. Where I lived at the time was Burbank, California. I mentioned that in the first video that they took me past Bob Hope Airport, which is in Burbank. If you know anything about that place, I'm sure some of you do. Most of you probably don't. But the SR-71 Blackbird, that top secret spy plane that replaced the U-2 spy plane, that's where it was developed and built by Lockheed Martin. So there's a lot of military industrial complex type stuff there. And here's a little trivia for you too. Edwards Air Force Base, which is out near Palmdale and Lancaster, which is about 45-minute, like an hour drive, depending on traffic from, where I lived. Area 51 in Nevada is just an auxiliary facility of Edwards Air Force Base, which is here. So what I was doing before this all, came about, I was, being horrifically abused and meeting with desk sergeants at LAPD substations constantly because my parents were getting arrested all the time, or they would accuse me of a crime, like for instance, like my mom would try to stab me or something, right? So I would pepper spray her, and because she was drunk and she was trying to get into her car, I would take her car keys and I would park her car around the block so that she couldn't find it, because she had gotten so many DUIs and had caused so much property damage and hurt people that I didn't want. I didn't want her to end up in jail, pretty much is the reason why I did that. Now, what she would do is she would call the police and she would say that I had assaulted her, I had pepper sprayed her, and that I had stolen her car. And so the police would be have an APB out for me. That this is when I'm 13 or something, that I am a carjacker that assaulted a woman and I'm armed or whatever. And there'd be police like looking for me, I'd have to call an attorney on my cell phone when I it's funny to think of, but it's really not funny. I would go, when I'm like 13 or like 14, and like with an attorney to a police station, like a LAPD station, and I would do an interview with the desk sergeant and like other police officers and these detectives that would, they would interview me and they would interview her, and they would know. They would take, the police report they would go off of and stuff like that. They'd know like pretty quickly she's fucking crazy. So I never was charged with any crime with that, but I did deal with the police a lot and paramedics, fire department. Um, all sorts of people that, some of them would take sympathy. Some of them would say like, you could tell like that they were affected by it, or like they didn't want to see it. Like I think it was a firefighter or something said like, I'm sorry that you have to, go through this or whatever. But there'd be other people, they would like be like complete. The LAPD and fire, some fire department would be like not very kind to me at all. Like she, my mom or whatever would get like, very drunk or on drugs, and hurt herself, like cut herself or whatever. Like there'd be blood all over, and they would try to accuse me of having done it, and they would start like, because there's no real evidence that I had like done anything, like my fingerprints are like not on like the knife, or like I was not there at the time or whatever alibi. Like they would start, trying to ask loaded questions to, you know, insinuating that I had done this so they could take me to jail or whatever, and say, look, we caught this guy who, stabbed his mom with a knife or whatever. So that's pretty dysfunctional. But despite all that, I was in the pipeline for Lockheed Martin. Like they were going to take us on tours out to Edwards Air Force Base. I was a riveter. I worked on a lot of different stuff. I was in small aircraft maintenance. So, I was taking engines apart and putting them back together. And I was using a rivet gun with a partner. If you've ever riveted and you know how to do that, to build or repair the fuselages of airplanes, like fighter jets or, whatever. So, but the whole time, I was troubled, as a kid or whatever from all this stuff. It's obviously very horrific. Not easy to do homework under those conditions. So, I was like drinking. I was like, very heavily. I was drinking and taking, OxyContin at the time. So a lot of painkillers and alcohol to try and numb my pain. But at the same time, I was building airplanes. And I also had a big interest in writing. I was a writer, actually. I had actually one of my stories, I think it's published in some horror anthology. I got paid, I think $500, or maybe it was $1,000 for it. I don't remember. But yeah, that all took a nosedive after this experience. Before, I like to tell stories, and I like to, create these fantastic worlds in my head and wonder what if and everything and all this theoretical stuff. And now it's like I've been brought down to reality that I can't escape from. Like I don't know. It just took it out of me real bad. Kind of not a fun thing to think about. But yeah, in this place, I did not shower for 4 months when I went to this place. That it would seem pretty crazy. Like imagine, I going by the time I upload this video, so it's like 420 National Weed Day and also Hitler's birthday. Strange intersection there, but imagine you stop showering right now, and the next time that you take a shower is in like August or something like that, like the end of August, like early September. That's what it was for me. I did not shower for that long. Can you imagine that smell? That's one of the, and a thing too, when you're around fire, because there it's like fire, it's like life. Fire, it's like you're in the cold, it's like it's not, an Arctic place, but the general feeling of it is Arctic. It's snowing all the time. It's completely barren. It looks like something out of the movie The Thing. I mean, it looks like Antarctica. Like maybe there's a few bushes sticking out here and there, but it is just another world. And you know, man, I forgot forgot what I was even gonna say. I don't know. This stuff is kind of painful for me. But God, what was I gonna say? I don't even remember. Fuck. I don't know. Man, I'm an idiot. Whatever. I'll just move past that for now. But, you know, shit. I'm just fuck it. That just I don't know. Being in those conditions, it's just, and then coming back to a different, the world that we all live in together here and right now. It's just it's a big jump, I oh yeah, not showering for 4 months. Yeah, the smell. And yeah, sorry. No, I remember what I was gonna say. Because this is what is a real, like, the primo, like, creme de la creme, like PTSD trigger for me is a certain smell. Now, people who've been to Iraq, people who've been to Afghanistan, like, everyone will have a smell, right? From different, like, traumatic places, whether it's that or, like, whatever. Like, a lot of guys who go there, like, their smell is diesel, like, exhaust fumes. Because, maybe they're on, like, a truck and, like, they're sucking in that diesel, and then, like, a fucking IED goes off, and there's a guy there like with no fucking legs, and now that smell, it just brings you back, right? The smell of like a certain type of wood burning, or it's because you're not allowed to shower. This smell gets into you, like every crevice, like your clothes, your skin, your hair, everything. You can't get rid of it. Everything, like all your property, is just filled with this smell. I remember some of the stuff that I had while I was there, I like took with me when I escaped. And I years later, I found a box that had one of the things in it. And I smelled it. Right when I opened the box, the smell came out, and it was hard to stand up. I mean, it's just, it becomes like part of your being or whatever, I guess. And now, it's like when I smell, I don't know what type, I have no idea what type of wood it is that creates a certain smell. It's whatever we used, to make fire when we were out there. If I smell it now, it's like game over, you know? It's just takes me down. But why am I going off on that? I don't know. The whole thing is I didn't shower for 4 months while I was there, which, leads to a lot of problems, hygienic problems, disease, stuff like that. Um, let's see. I wrote a little list down here so I can remember everything. Try to remember everything that I was gonna try and say in this video. Um, let's see. One of the people that was there, one of these guards, one of these counselors, was very sick, sociopathic guy, like Desert Rain, but he was more. He didn't take a active predatory role in like trying to find victims in order to get a reaction out of them for like his own satisfaction. He was just like a lazy, like good for nothing piece of shit human being. You know what I mean? Some guy who wanted everything for nothing. Some guy who goes out there and works at a place like this because he's like, yeah, I'll like beat up a few kids or make them shut up if you pay me a couple $1,000 so I can go get high myself or whatever, or buy whatever. And so, yeah, this guy would intentionally like torment people just for, I mean, I guess for his own pleasure, yeah. I mean, he wasn't super interested in doing it like that Desert Rain guy, but he would kind of passively do it, I guess. The guy was just he was a young guy, he's probably college age, so I'd say he's like 23, 24, something like that. Oh my god. Everybody wanted to kill this guy. I mean, I'm sure that there are even other counselors or guards or whatever that wanted to kill him. He was so obnoxious, and you have to listen to everything he says. If he says jump, you gotta jump, or you're getting tortured, and he'll oversee your torture. You know what I mean? Whatever he picks, whatever he selects. So you're subservient to this guy that's like. You would not buy a used car from him, you know? Like just the lowest scum of humanity. And he would do the food torture a lot. Like he would get like really nice food on purpose and bring it with him and like eat it in front of people who are starving. And if somebody tried to take it, then like he would like beat the shit out of them. I remember one guy actually did like steal his stuff because he was so hated and so little respect. Like somebody penetrated his perimeter. I think it was at night or something. Stole his something like a Cheez-It or something, and that guy was annihilated for doing that. I mean, he was might as well have committed suicide, but I mean, the way that they punished him for doing that, he sealed his fate. But yeah, there is another prisoner there. Some guy, I remember, real fucked up guy. I mean, he came from a fucked up, real messed up family, and he told me, I mean, he taught me how to do stuff that was not allowed, like illegal, like how to. He's the one who, because I get there, I'm following all the rules, because I'm afraid. He's the one who would teach me like how to do stuff that wasn't allowed, like how to get away with things, how to, subvert the system, I guess you'd say. Like, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I guess it's not really worth going into, but that guy would not go with the program at all. I mean, he was like the first. I mean, he was like a big rebel, like a leader, I guess you'd say. Like people followed him because he like was not afraid of anything. No punishment would ever deter him. He would always speak the truth. And they tried everything to control this guy. They like tormented him in every possible way. They tortured him in every possible way. And eventually they figured like they couldn't. His spirit or whatever was too strong. And so what they did is randomly while we were hiking. So we're hiking on this long march, right? We're going down this fire road, and so it's like you could drive a four-wheel drive vehicle on this type of thoroughfare. They pulled up in one of those black SUVs, which they always use, I guess, for intimidation purposes, or maybe just because four-wheel drive. I don't know, but they pulled up and like all these guys got out. Like the driver stayed in, but like three guys got out, like one from the front passenger and then two in the rear. Big burly guys, so like nobody had seen before, probably contractors, like the guys that had taken me originally this place, ex-army guys or whatever. They came out, they tackled him, like took his all of his stuff off and like handcuffed him and put him in the SUV and just drove off without saying a word. And like you weren't allowed to talk about it, and like nobody would tell you why that happened or anything. But we never saw that guy ever again. So I don't know what they did to him or what happened to him, but I inherited from that guy like a spirit of rebelliousness or something. Then I started becoming like the new not leader, but like I don't know, like a shaman or something. I mean, it's to sit here now in front of a computer and say this, describe this, is so strange, because it's so far removed from the environment in which this took place. I would actually, this place, as I said before, it was owned by the federal government. So all this land is like federal government property. So it's managed and maintained by the Bureau of Land Management. They do allow grazing cattle, and they allow hunting. I believe it's hunting. I would assume, based on the evidence that I found, that it was hunting on this land. So, because I would be marching, or I'd be out like on my own, when they put you out by yourself, and I would find shell casings. Like most of the stuff that I found was like 12 or 20 gauge, like shotgun shells. I found a few like 30-06 and 223 and whatever. But what I did, which goes to show like how far your mind can degrade in an extreme situation, I made like necklaces, like charms, out of this stuff. I would take shotgun shells, because the brass from like a rifle, I couldn't work with that. I didn't have the tools. Because when you're there, everything that you use is a tool that you make or eat, whatever. Like even eating, like you don't eat with a spoon, you eat with a stick. Like you find a stick and that's what you use to eat. So to work with the shotgun shells to create like holes in them so that I could like put string through it, it's like much easier with the plastic than it is with like brass. It's impossible. So I started making these fucking necklaces out of shotgun shells and all this shit, like whatever I found on the ground, like some sort of tribal thing. I don't know. I guess I went a little too primal at some point, but yeah, they confiscated those. I mean, for a while it was like I was like some Mad Max, tribal leader guy, but then they took away my mojo, my talismans, and whatever. Very weird, strange thing to to experience or take part in when you're that young. It's like being in Africa or something, and as a child soldier. But yeah, there was. I mean, one of the ways that I survived in this place mentally, because I'm gonna be straight up with you. I've talked a lot about military stuff up to this point, and I don't know what people assume. I have never been in the military. I've never served in the military in any branch, period. The reason I reference that stuff so often is for two reasons. Number one is because a lot of people that, well, peripherally, I've been involved in that. I've known a lot of Marines, I've known people in the Navy. My cousin's an Army Ranger. My grandpa served in Korea. My other grandpa served in Korea. So I'm just surrounded by this stuff constantly. So you know, it's how I think of things in a way. But more so than that is that when I first got to this place and I had that black bag on my head and I was trying to emotionally make sense of what was going on and to survive mentally in a place like that without having your spirit and your mind broken down, I envision myself. This is the way that I envision the situation, which I fully believed it or whatever, you know, as much as I could to deal with the situation. I thought, okay, this is Korea. These are like North Koreans. I'm like a fucking U.S. Army captain or something that has been taken as a prisoner of war. I'm in a prisoner of war camp, and they're gonna rescue me eventually. And all I gotta do is like not give in to the enemy and not like allow them to brainwash me or not allow them to break me down or kill me. I have to stay alive. I have to escape. I have to get back to like friendly territory. This is like the paradigm in which my mind worked, in order to, so I don't have to just admit, okay, like I just got kidnapped by these guys I have no power against and I'm stuck in another state and I'm probably gonna die here or, just stay here for the next, however many years, and the entire time I'm gonna be tortured and just like, abused and degraded and molested. So, it's like a positive, I don't know what you call it. That's a delusion. Positive one, though. Lets you survive. That's a strange thing. Because I. I mean, there's. I don't know about that. I'm just going to move on to the next thing. There was a guy there, not Desert Rain, but a different guy who was crazy. One of the guards. It was totally crazy. He was totally, like, mentally unwell. And I remember one of the times we were just sitting there, just sitting, like, around a campfire or something, or whatever, just sitting on the ground. And this guy came up to me and just started, like, saying the worst stuff to me, like, out of nowhere. Like, talking about how I should kill myself and how I'm like worthless and how like he wishes that I was dead and that he wishes he could kill me and like all this weird stuff. I don't even remember it all. Just stuff like that. I mean, just you can imagine. And like afterwards, the guy was he started laughing and he was like, "Ha ha, gotcha," like it was a joke or something. And he thought that this was like funny, like to scare everybody. That he because he was. I think one of the things he said is like, "I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna slit your throat" or something like that. So everybody's like scared that this guy is about to like kill me, that he's actually lost his mind and he's gonna murder me with this like buck knife that's like a foot long or this Bowie knife, like in front of all these people. And so they're like all terrified. And then he's like, haha, joke's on you, April Fools. And he's like, and nobody's laughing. You know, everybody's just like, what the fuck? You know? Like, they do stuff like that there. Um, I remember when they made when they made me like a big brother or whatever, like mentor to like new people that arrived there. Like all the people like said to me, they lied to me. You know, they were like, "Oh, you know, just go with the flow and like everything will be fine," and you know, they're fair to us or something. People whose minds, you know, had already been broken. I just told these people straight up, I'm like, "Welcome to hell, motherfucker." Like prepare for like the worst experience of your life. Like you've just entered like Dante's Inferno. I hope you're ready to suffer. Like that's what I would just tell like new people that showed up there. And like they would like thank me later on. They'd say thanks for telling me the truth instead of trying to bullshit me that everything's gonna be fine. So yeah, that was a nice experience and mentoring the youth. Uh yeah, how I escaped is I created a secret code. Like when you write letters, you know, to send, because you're allowed to send letters to your family or whatever. But the thing is, every letter is checked. So if you write something negative, then they'll rip it up and throw it in the fire. So the only letters you're allowed to send is like, this place is great. Like I love everyone here. They treat me so well. Or they might even just like write it for you, you know, and have you send it. So my response to this, I came up with like a whole fucking enigma like code, you know, that I hoped would, you know, if I sent a letter using this code, I hoped that whoever received it would like see that it's like gibberish and like understand that, well, how it's structured into paragraphs or whatever, that it's just like encoded and they would be able to figure it out. It was a pretty simple enigma or whatever. Like it was just like a letter shifted like one place, you know? So if I said like something that started with the letter A, I would put like the letter B, you know? So like hopefully somebody would just figure that out. That didn't work. So eventually I started using just very verbose, because I had been like a writer, you know, very verbose legalese, like very long, flowery dialogue, like a lawyer. Well, yeah, like a lawyer, I guess, would send in a letter. I sent that to my dad, you know, in the hopes that he would understand what I'm talking about and would sort of feel guilty, you know, and try and engineer some way for me to get out of this place. That actually ended up working. Uh, like I sent him this really long letter that was like 4 pages long, and the vocabulary was so above like whoever checks these letters, like they probably looked at it and like didn't even understand what it was saying, and because they're so unintelligent, so uneducated, and my dad understood it though. He actually drove from Los Angeles to Bend, Oregon, which is like 800, 900 miles, and like picked me up from that place. Because normally, like as I've said before, they'd bounce you around. You'd be in that network until you're 18. You'd be getting traded back and forth between these different places, molested by different people or like whatever, until you're 18, and then you're just released into the world as this like broken human who like can't like hold down a job and is like so traumatized you probably end up arrested or in a mental institution, like some woman who's been like raped like fucking 30 times by 20 different people or whatever. So he like came up there and like took me out of that place. Like he did some sort of weird because they're your legal guardians at that point, so your parents like have no power to really take you back. But my dad did some sort of strange legal maneuvering where he threatened some sort of legal action, lawsuit, something. I don't really remember like the whole rigmarole of what he did. It was very I don't know, complex, but he got him to release their grip out of court. Like they were like, it's not worth it to like over this one stupid kid to get maybe the whole like operation like blown or whatever. I don't know what their thought process was. Anyway, they let me go with my dad, who drove me 900 miles from Bend, Oregon, back to Los Angeles. And the funniest part, the most ironic part, is about 5 minutes after we leave this place where they have been doing all this stuff, this horrific stuff to these kids. They got pulled over by an Oregon state trooper or whatever, and who was just like treating us like we were drug traffickers or something. Like he was this real bad attitude. And he was angry that we went like 30 miles an hour in like a 25-mile-an-hour zone or something, and the plates on the car are out of state. They're from California, not from Oregon. So just for that, this state trooper pulls us over and takes us out of the car and searches the whole thing and is all giving us all his trouble, like calling backup. I just left a place where they killed a guy, and like these guys are spending all their time, all their effort, all their resources on this stupid, pointless traffic stop just to harass me. And I mean, that further engendered my antipathy towards law enforcement and police officers. Um, if this plan did not work, the sending these letters, sort of in code that I hoped would be understood by somebody, my plan was that they would, when my time there was up or whatever, they would transfer me to another facility, which there would be no escape from. There would be like bars on the windows, like getting, raped, molested like every night, getting just completely. I mean, your life would be hell. Like it's not out of the question to commit suicide. Like I'd almost recommend it in that situation because you're 15, 3 years till you're 18, 3 years of dealing with that. You're not going to live a normal life, buddy. I hate to break it to you. So maybe it is best to kill yourself. And that's what I came up with, which is I would engineer this plan. I would say, like, before I'm transferred, to this new place, like maybe I can spend one night with with my dad or with something. I just come up with this bullshit. I didn't care about spending a night with my dad or my mom. He was the one who put me there in the first place. So, or allowed it to happen or whatever. But I would say that, and then while you know I'm spending a night with my dad, like at like a hotel in the area or whatever, I would sneak out, or I would, if it came to it, I would, assault my dad in order to escape, and then I would go and I would commit suicide by cop. That was when I was 15. This is a plan I came up with just to end this nightmare so that I didn't have to live this, what had been 3 or 4 months of this for 3 or 4 years. That was something that I could not take. That's something I could not withstand. And I don't think anybody really can and recover from that or be normal. So that was my plan pretty much, either suicide by cop or like rob a pharmacy or something and like overdose, in like an alley or something. Uh, just, these wacko plans or whatever. It's pretty desperate. I mean, no 15-year-old, no kid should be like thinking stuff like that or thinking of plans like that or whatever just to escape suffering. You know, not because of any self-esteem problem or some sort of life issue or whatever, but because they want to avoid further physical suffering. That's like in my mind pretty extreme example of how uh, decadent, degraded our society is, how evil and satanic it is. Um, when I did escape after being pulled over by the fucking cops, I went into a supermarket. And so when I relate this story, just on its own, if I just, say this out of the blue, people think I'm lying because it's reminiscent of a scene from the movie Hurt Locker. At the very end, when the guy gets back from Iraq and he's going through the supermarket and he's tripping out because he doesn't give a shit about what type of cereal to buy because he has just seen a guy have his head blown off, with a bomb strapped to his chest or whatever. It was the same sort of weird feeling, very weird, coming from a place where they have no chairs, no running water, to a supermarket filled with magazines, filled with music, just trash music, hypnotic, weird, bright lights. It almost made me nauseous, And everyone around me is totally unaffected because they're so used to it, But being taken out of that and put back in it, oh, it's such a horrible experience. I can only imagine what it's like for some guy who actually did like some long ass tour in, fucking Iraq or Vietnam, and then you have to go through a supermarket like that. You must be losing your goddamn mind. Because I sure did. And that was only after like 3 or 4 months. And I didn't even get shot at. At least not, I don't think so. And, yeah, that, Lori Wilmot lady, I mentioned in the last video, sort of just like in a spiteful, angry way. She is a real piece of work. Let me put it that way. That woman is really something else. I don't mean that in a good way, of course. Because when I first was researching her identity, and I was trying to figure out who this person was. There are a lot of different names that come up. I went through a lot of different, hoops. I won't get into all the methodology behind it, but there's a lot of different potential uh, I, suspects or whatever you want to call them. People that I thought may have been her. When I finally came across Lori Wilmot and I saw like a photograph of her, it was just like instantly I knew. I like her face, like everything, that was her. Like without a doubt. There's no doubt at all. 0%. It's like being in a POW camp. Oh, yeah. Back to the fucking references. It's like being in a fucking POW camp or a concentration camp or gulag, and there's some really bad guard there, that everybody hates, and they give some nickname like Ivan the Terrible, and then you see that guy like fucking 90 years later, but it's like you still know that's a guy because it's like his face or whatever, like his mannerisms, like everything, it all is just picture perfect. Yeah, that I really invite you to check out her LinkedIn page or like wherever she advertises her services, because on her resume she has like so many different corporations and like government entities, that she has worked for, which I'm sure she's completely exploited her position and ruined countless lives. Just destroyed endless numbers of lives of both like youth and their their parents, whatever. Uh, she would come out, when we were out there, and she would kind of do a status check, sort of like making sure everything is going smoothly, like the whole operation is running properly. And she would talk like personally to like some people. I remember talking to her personally, like many times, and she was very well. Let's put it this way: the type of stuff that she said to me, like unprovoked or whatever, if somebody said that to me, like in a bar or some public place, I'd probably hit him in the face. Like really negative stuff, taunting, tormenting, just laughing at when you're in pain. Like let's say you get injured or something, right? Like let's say you get frostbite or you get like fracture or something like that, and you go and you ask for help. What, like maybe like you're in so much pain, you're like crying, like whatever the injury is. Maybe you've been cut, like you had a big gash or like whatever, or just something horrifically painful. She'll like laugh at you, call you like a wimp or like a pussy, and say like, yeah, maybe we'll take a look at that. I mean, I mean, that's the lighter end of things. Like, she'll say, like, you're trapped here. Like, your life belongs to me. Like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I own this place. There are no police here. Like, I am the police. Really weird stuff. Really sick. I mean, I struggle to come up with some sort of English expression to quantify this, because it's like something that has to be filmed. It has to be like in a movie. It's like me trying to explain to you The Godfather, right? It's like I'll explain it and you'll say like, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting, whatever. You have to watch the movie, to get like the feeling of it, the zeitgeist, right? But yeah, that woman is very, very evil. I mean, I have very negative thoughts a lot of the times, you know. My life is like ruined, so it's like, why not ruin hers, you know? I don't like to think like that, but I mean, being left with nothing, no recourse or whatever, it's you can't help but think stuff like that, you know, if you've been, you know, somebody's done something to you, especially at a young age. It's like you get no, you know, justice for it. You want now like vengeance instead of justice because you have nothing to live for except for that vengeance, you know? Like a wife, a kids, a family, a career that's all been like taken from me. Like, what do I have left to look forward to except, you know, knocking her out cold, pretty much, right? But I don't know. It's just very puzzling to me, this stuff that it's gone on for so long, and it's so pervasive, and it's so blatant, and it's especially in its just flaunting of its lawlessness. I mean, it just thumbs its nose at any sort of local, state, or federal legislation. And the FBI, any agency, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, like all these people, they take no interest in it. Why? It's, I mean, I know why, but, you know, think for yourself. I mean, for this type of thing, right? FBI goes in, they have all this evidence, all these witnesses, they got a dead body sitting in the morgue. This is an open and shut case. This is like that. This will make your career, you know, to take down like a network like this or whatever. And they just have like the no interest in it at all. You know, it really kind of tilts their hand in a way. I mean, it's not just a bunch of wacko people that are off doing this, you know, by themselves. It's like an organized, methodical, international network that's like, you know, connected with all these businesses, enterprises, institutions that have money in like offshore tax havens that are openly, you know, going against like every federal law. You know, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all until you look at it in the context of they allow it to happen. They know all about it and they just allow it to happen. They either don't give a shit or they profit by it, something like that. Or they're the most incompetent people in the entire world, which I highly doubt, seeing as how when they bombed the World Trade Center in 1993, they were able to take a microscopic paint chip off a concrete pillar in the parking garage of the fucking World Trade Center, analyze it, and tell you what color the van was and what make, model, and year it was. I highly doubt these people are incapable of taking down this, you know, criminal racket that doesn't even bother to cover its tracks 99% of the time. You know, it just, how do you look at the world after that, taking that into your mind and accepting that? So, I mean, it's not easy, man. You know, like when you come back, here's another thing. Hate to go back to the fucking military analogies again, but it's pretty much what it is, man. You go like overseas, you see all this fucked up shit, you come back, and then you're like this distant weirdo guy that, might have these outbursts or whatever. Or maybe not. Maybe you're just like real quiet. How do you like have friends after that? How do you like date women? You know what I mean? Like you're at a party or you're in a room full of people and it's just like you're in another world, man, in your head. And it's like you can't let go of it. And people, they like just I mean, they treat you just like some weird, potential mass shooter incel like loser that like, you know what I mean? People just like stay away from you. It was real bad, coming back when I was in high school. That was really tough because you have people whose lives are like perfect or whatever. To me, are perfect. I'd kill to have their lives to feel some sort of peace or tranquility for like 1 microsecond. Uh, and they have no understanding or any point of reference of my reality. So you're treated very poorly. I mean, women look at you like you're a creep. Men look at you like you're a pussy or whatever. So it's really you're just on your own again, alone. Nobody gets it. Nobody can understand why it's so troubling to you, why you act like that, why your demeanor is like so stiff, because they weren't there. It would take another person who was there who would understand. Except I wasn't in some huge war like Vietnam or Iraq, where there's thousands of people who might understand what I'm going through. There's pretty much approximately zero. There's like one guy on YouTube, but I don't really talk to him that much. So it's puts you into a not good place, especially now while you're alone, treated badly, and then like solitary confinement in prison, it's punishment because you sit in there and your mind is working constantly. All you can do is think, relive memories. It drives people insane. And now with coronavirus on top of everything, I just feel like I'm in solitary confinement, sitting here thinking about this stuff. No, no release, no one to talk to. It's just I would rather be in hell because I think it would be easier to bear. But yeah, this is as you can tell by the way my pauses and how long it takes me to say something or how I forget things that I'm living in my head right now. I am not here. I am not sitting in a chair in a house in the air conditioning. I am sitting on the ground in the snow at night with wind. Afraid, That's I'm just not here. It's just not good. I don't even know why I made this video. I should have came into this with a more clear objective of something to talk about. I'm just fucking rambling, but maybe somebody will find wisdom in my ramblings. Maybe somebody will find some piece of information that they'll be able to put together. Crack the case. Who knows? But that's all I'm gonna say for right now. So, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you have a good day or night, depending on where you are. God bless you. Goodbye.